Murphy Austin Adams Schoenfeld LLP, focusing on business law and commercial litigation, is proud to support Rob on the Road, Region Rising. More information available at murphyaustin.com.
And now, Rob on the Road, exploring Northern California.
On Rob at Home, the journey of the Gofman family from Kyiv to California. The year was 1979. Ukraine was still part of the Soviet Union when little Alina Gofman, her parents, and her mother's parents fled anti-Semitism and a communist regime on a one-way ticket to America. They settled in Folsom and would see their homeland of Ukraine grow into an independent country with the collapse of the Soviet Union. Today, they are watching the unimaginable unfold. And joining me now are Alina Martinez and Boris Gofman from their home. Good to see both of you, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having us, Rob.
Our pleasure, of course.
Glad to have you, and we'll have some more of your family joining us coming up in the half hour. But I want to start with you, Alina. Tell me, first of all, how you're feeling just in this moment right now, watching and seeing and hearing what's going on.
It's almost unbelievable. You think to yourself that we learn from history, but apparently we haven't. My family are Ukrainian Jews. We moved here over 40 years ago. We're from Kyiv, and you just don't think that you'll ever see something like this again. The atrocities that are happening, the constant stream of bombing and people fleeing, and it's overwhelming. It's interesting because for me, I never really thought about, Ukrainian, Russian. We were all, when we left, Soviets, and we were all considered Russians. And, my best friend growing up in San Francisco also considers herself Russian, but she's from Moldova, Ukraine, but we were all Russians. We all spoke Russian.
Will you unpack that a little bit for people watching to help them understand that?
Sure. So when we left, there was so much anti-Semitism happening in the Soviet Union, and years and years of it, in an oppression, that my family decided to, look for a better life here in the United States. But again, when we moved here, it didn't matter what region you were from, whether you're from Belarus, from Russia, from the Ukraine, from Moldova, from wherever, we were all Russians. We all spoke Russian. We all related to it. So it's interesting right now watching all of it. The country that Ukraine is now was not the country we left. But now I'm finding myself feeling such a strong solidarity with the people of Ukraine, because they too are trying to flee something that they've spent 40 years rebuilding and changing and trying to get this newfound independence and freedom to be who they want to be. I mean, they've come a long way. They have a Jewish prime minister. They have a president. They have Jewish people all at the top. You would have never seen that when we were there. And so watching this newfound freedom in this new country who's worked so hard to gain this freedom to just be pummeled and taken, trying to be oppressed again it's horrible. So after having a little bit of an identity crisis, I think now I'm, definitely when people ask me who I am, I say I'm a Ukrainian Jew, and that's who I am now. I'm not Russian anymore.
Have you talked to anyone since the?
Yes, I have. I have a very good friend of mine that I'm an ex-professional musician, and one of my band member who become a #1 jazzman in Ukraine. He has his own radio station, and his family, unfortunately, he's still there. He couldn't leave Kyiv because he got a 30-year-old son who's basically could be drafted any time to the Ukrainian military. For that reason, they don't want to leave the city to leave him alone, family and the kid together. So we'll every day she sent me text message or we said, be okay, be home. It's the best we spent the night in the underground in the car. It was cold because the sirens were coming through every night. And yesterday message was, we're back home, we are okay. I mean, it's so sad to see. I mean, every time I see the streets of Kyiv, it reminds me of my childhood. I mean, I left when I was 22 years old, and I remember every part of the city.
Oh, yeah.
The city, it's grew so nicely in the last 40 plus years.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful. And everybody who I'm talking to, when they left, some of my friends already left the city because I was forcing them, said, you need to get out. You will come back to it when it's all quiets down, but you got to save yourself. And the only thing they were telling me, I forget about this, my material stuff, the city, they're so afraid when they come back, there would be nothing left. And one of the most beautiful cities in the world. It's make me really sad to see this entire war, the great support. But they're watching like us, the poor people get killed.
These families running for their lives, their elderly people, being attacked who can't leave, people grabbing these 80-pound dogs and running for the border, it kind of is reminiscent of, so many other refugees who have had to flee from places, but it just hits a little more home this time.
Did you ever think this could happen?
No. I mean, we all know that there's an oppressive, awful government and dictator in Russia, but you just hope to yourself that something like this wouldn't happen. Even as they were lining up at the borders, you were hoping somehow they would work this out. But I think you can't, I don't know, I don't think you can work it out with a madman. The other thing is we have really close family friends there who, our nanny, who, when my sister was born, we had a Ukrainian nanny come live with us, and she ended up staying with us and becoming, she's been here now 30 years.
30 years.
And she's become like a second grandma to us. She's at all our family events. She's at all our holidays. She's our family. And she has a son and daughter, a granddaughter and grandson-in-law, and a great-grandson who are there. We know them. Yeah. They've come to visit us. Yeah, my son Gavin, they would Google Translate so they can talk to the great-grandson who's, a couple of years younger. They've been here. They've been in our house. We know them. They're like family.
Are they okay? Do you know so far?
So far, they're okay, but they
left the city of Kyiv. They lived in Kyiv. They went to Ivano-Frankovsk, which is a smaller city, 300 miles from Kyiv.
Near the Polish side.
Close to the Polish. He's 57 and his wife is a little younger. So he's still under the draft situation between 18 and 60. So even if he wants to go to other country, out of Ukraine, they won't let him go. So he has to stay there. His daughter is planning to leave Ukraine with her son, probably today, somewhere to Hungary, and then from Hungary to Italy. She got some friends there. But like I said, we opened our arms to them and said, you have a second home here. Though, in any chance, you're more than welcome to stay with us for the rest of your life, whatever it takes. But in the meantime, they want to stay closer because her husband is 35 and he has to stay behind. That's what breaks my heart. How can you let your wife and your son or any child leave and you staying behind? And in your mind, you don't know if you're ever going to see him again.
That's hard. That is heartbreaking.
And watching, we've seen lots of examples of it, dads hugging their children goodbye as they, get handed a weapon and go fight. The thing that's interesting too is you were talking about how united the Ukrainian people are. The people who are walking around protecting their country, they're not soldiers. No. They're physicists, they're doctors, they're lawyers, they're garbage men, they're whatever. And a huge amount of women as well. They could flee and leave, but a lot of them haven't. They've taken up arms and they're standing in front of tanks and protecting their country. The human stories, I think that's what gets you the most. I put myself, had we not come here in the 70s, that would be us. Had my grandparents not insisted on getting us out of an anti-Semitic situation and we had the resources and were able to come here, That would be us. I put myself in that situation, me trying to flee with my children to the border, but saying goodbye to my husband because he can't leave. I mean,
and possibly your son.
Do you leave? Or do I stay back because I'm a medical person and I want to help, but send my kids off? Do I leave my dad, but go with my mom? I mean, all these different scenarios, especially since we have family friends that are in this situation and we talk to them, we know what it's like. One of the guys, the one who has to stay, that's in our close family friends, he's never held a gun in his hand. That's not what he does. He's a DJ. He's a music producer. Handing a gun to a music producer, it's like handing a gun to you or me and saying, here, go ahead. Yeah. I mean, it's the craziness, but people have been so brave, and I don't know what's right. I don't know what I would do in that situation. Do you run? Like I said, do you run to save your life and your children's lives, but leave the men in your life behind? I mean, it's an impossible situation. And at this point, you feel really helpless too. Like, I want to help. I've donated to like so many different types of charities. I want to support the Ukrainian businesses in town. We're trying to do little things. I posted things on my Facebook page, ways to donate. I mean, part of this is just, getting the word out that, there's so many different groups, and I'm happy to share links. I have this Stand with Ukraine kind of link that shows that was actually put together by people at Stanford that are Ukrainian. They came up with lots of different ways to donate and different links. So I'm happy to share that.
That would be great.
How can I help? My cute neighbor, she doesn't know how to help, but she made us a pillow that was blue and yellow. And I don't really, like, the thought behind that was so sweet. She doesn't know how to help, but she wants to find a way to bring comfort. She's like, I just thought this pillow might bring you comfort. And she took blue and yellow, I don't know if you want to grab it, Gab, little scraps, just anything. There's a Ukrainian cafe in town. I just want to get my coffee from them to help support, because some of the, a lot of people are doing different like proceeds. Here's the little pillow she made. It's kind of,
oh, that's beautiful.
It's just very sweet, and people have reached out to, me. Again, I haven't lived in Ukraine since I was 2, but people have reached out and said, how can we help? And what can we do? Because I think, like you said, you don't have to be Ukrainian to feel the pain of this.
I can only imagine, though, how your life, since this has started, has been turned completely upside down, because everything feels here probably so, it just feels like, how can we be moving normally or trying to move through normal life here, knowing what's happening there? It's as
I really don't care if the gas gonna, yes, I don't care if the gas going to be $10 or $20 a gallon right now. I want these people to live in peace. That thing needs to, escalation have to stop. And the world need to come to their sense. I've never been in politics. I'm an ex-musician. I'm a car salesman.
What instrument do you play?
Jack of all trades over here.
What instrument?
Violin.
Violin.
Yeah, I graduated from Ukrainian college of master degrees of music. Unfortunately, could not promote my music here in US when I was 22 years old. I had a family to support. Unfortunately, at that time, there was no opportunity to make a living as a musician. So I changed my career. I tried different things in life. I ended up being in the car business. And 30 years later, I'm retired out of it, semi-retired out of the car business. And I loved it. I loved it every minute out of it.
I wanted to bring Gavin in on this interview too, because he actually has been so invested in this as well. It was interesting. He was the one who came to me first weeks ago. And it's like, Mom, I'm kind of concerned about what's going on with Russia and Ukraine. They're lining up on the borders. And I was like, we didn't take it that seriously. They've been doing it for years. They've been fighting on that border for years. He goes, no, Mom, this is different. And I think it's really interesting. Obviously he was born here, but has heard so many stories about the Ukraine from luckily, again, my dad and mom live across the street. And my grandma, he gets firsthand information. But I think it's interesting to see what his perspective on it is, given, just from a younger perspective, and with, social media allowing the world to see what's happening. So I just thought it'd be interesting.
Absolutely. Gavin, how old are you? 16, 17?
I'm 16.
16. So how does this feel to you?
I mean, it all feels really crazy. I don't know. I think because of the media and because of like social media, you can see so many different like videos and different clips, and you can read different articles. And I think that we're in such an age of information that we're able to really feel like we're in the streets, we're in the area. And it's kind of like amazing that we're able to have this opportunity to see it firsthand, but it's also like really heartbreaking to see it in general. Yeah.
You know, Gavin, I can already tell that you're a wise young man, a wise person. What would you say about what's going on to other people your age?
I mean, I think I would probably explain to them the human aspect of it. Who are the people living there who are fleeing, and like the people who are getting bombed? And I don't think a lot of people in America can really understand that perspective. I mean, maybe people who are from other countries who have experienced similar things might relate to it. But I think when you're talking about this, it's important to talk about the political aspect of it, but it's also more important to talk about the human aspect of it. So,
And
that's a brilliant point, because that's where we've gotten away from as a country, is the human aspect of everything. We've become so divided. And yet this right now, I see, this is multiple generations of a family. And in every family, there's multiple generations. Everybody has opinions. But to be united in love is huge.
yeah, I mean, we may not always see eye to eye on every issue,
Of course.
and I think that's normal in families. But I think when you see people who are like you, who have, that could be us, and you think nothing else is important but the people.
I just have to say something, because it is so rare that people take the time and the opportunity to look at someone and say what they really feel. Gavin, you're sitting there with your grandfather who left Ukraine when he was 22 years old for a dream for you and your mom and a future. So I'm curious, Alina and Gavin, what would you want to say to Boris right now? Life is short.
I mean, I would say I'm very appreciative to not live in a place where it is war torn right now. And I'm appreciative to live in a country where that took us in, and there's so many different kinds of people. And we're so on my dad's side, his family is immigrants from Mexico and El Salvador. And so I'm kind of like the culmination of immigrants on both sides. And so that's what's kind of amazing about this country, is you see different people from all over the world who have kind of used this country as a sanctuary. And though it is not perfect in any means, it is, I don't know, it's kind of special in that way. So,
And I'm very grateful to my parents who picked up their lives to, as he called, a black hole, had no idea what they were going to see on the other side of it, but were brave enough and wanted to, when they looked at their kid, and wanted to provide me the opportunities that I probably in those times would have never been able to do, to go to great schools and to become a professional and to do all these things that as a Jewish girl in that country probably wouldn't have had the opportunity. However, I will say one thing, this is why this is even more horrifying. Watching the Ukraine now, seeing these people who would have never had an opportunity, but who do now, who rebuilt this country, who let the Jewish people become part of the Ukrainian culture. Watching a Jewish president in the Ukraine, and then to see it being tampered and pushed down is awful. That's part of it too, I think, is what's really heartbreaking, is to see the country that has completely changed and worked so hard. Again, far from perfect. We aren't perfect. Nobody is. But to see a country that's really grown and changed and embraced, differences in cultures. But again, I'm so grateful because they brought me here. I'm able to, have this career and, be able to provide a better life for my children than we would have been able to do there, and to have the next generation of children. If it wasn't for my brave grandparents and parents, we would be there and in the middle of this war-torn situation. I mean, I have a couple friends who are Afghani who fled from their country under bombing situations too. And they too are so grateful to this country for taking them in. My Croatian patient yesterday, who was so grateful to be here, as Gavin said, it's a sanctuary for people who needed a better life. And we're grateful for that. But also more than that, I'm just grateful for their bravery for coming. And you can see it in the Ukrainian people, the lawyers and the physicians and the people who are standing with a gun, who've never held a gun in their hand. I mean, this is a brave, tough group of people and a loving group of people. And family is super important. They will defend their family and their country to the very end. Zelensky could have got on an airplane. He could be out of there. He was offered, and he said, I don't want your ride. I'm going to stand here. I need your help and support. I don't want to ride. I'm going to lift out of here. His wife, children are there. It's really kind of impressive. And just it's kind of, you would never imagine. Most politicians would have jumped onto the first plane and ran. Save your own butt. But these are a hardy, tough group. These people who came to this country with no language, my parents, with no money, and they worked jobs that probably felt below what they had trained in and done. There was
or their dreams. They left their dream of jumping father with music. I
mean, they did everything. No job was too below them. No job was like, they just needed to make a living, and they worked their tails off. And and I'm so grateful to them, because they think what they've instilled in me is a sense of hard work. And you have to work for what you want. You have to strive for what you want, and you have to help other people who are in that same situation. Watching them sponsor families, as when I was a kid, watching, people lived in our homes. People,
Boris, I want to ask you in closing, Boris, what is your message? What would you like to say in this moment to, one, get off of your chest maybe, but two, to say, what would you like to say to people watching, if they're from Ukraine, if they're from anywhere? What would you like to say right now?
Well, first of all, our thoughts, our soul, our hearts with all these people in that country who's fighting for their freedom. Second of all, I want to say from the bottom of my heart to the entire world, a big help. Ukrainian people, they need help. Media, news, talks, it's all wonderful. Analysis, what's going on, who's doing good, who's doing bad. It's all wonderful and talk. But I feel for the young President Zelensky, what he's going through, because he's not a politician. He has no political background. He's just a human, he's just an entertainer like me, because I was an entertainer who had opportunity to lead the country. Yes, he made some mistakes. Of course, anybody would make mistakes. But he united these people so close. Anybody I talked to out of my friends in Ukraine, they're so grateful. He's their national hero.
I think that you have a remarkable family. I really do. I want to thank all of you.
I am the happiest man on the world. I'll tell you that. When I walk out of Elena's house, just walk out the front door and I see my house across the street, what could be better?
You are so, so lucky and so blessed. I'm telling you, that is rare to have all your family.
We're really lucky.
I can't thank each of you enough for spending so much time with us and sharing your story, and a call to action as well.
And thanks for having us.
Thank you. We really appreciate it.
It's so good to see all of you. Thank you so much for joining us here.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks.
See you very soon. I'd love to follow up with you very soon.
We're looking forward.
Yep. Yes.
Austin Adams Schoenfeld LLP, focusing on business law and commercial litigation, is proud to support Rob on the Road, Region Rising. More information available at murphyaustin.com.